Hello and welcome to the Vegan Luna podcast. I'm sitting here with another amazing activist. I know that's kind of the theme. If you guys are paying attention, I'm sitting with a lot of activists that are active, that are out there, that are making the world a better place, or helping animals, or helping people be healthier, helping the environment. Anything that is really making the world a better place is the people that I sit down with, and I bring them to you guys as much as possible. So I'm sitting down with another guy. He's in Canada. I'm super excited to have him because he does activism in a unique way. And he might not think so, but I think it's unique because I don't see everyone quite as active as him in this way. So I'm excited to talk about that. But before we get into that and everything that he does, I have some quick vegan questions. Are you ready for the quick vegan questions?
I'm ready.
All right, excellent. So question number 1, what do you think it will take to get to a vegan world?
What will it take to get to a vegan world?
Yeah, what has to happen? What are some things that need to happen?
Well, one of the things right off the bat and Nation Rising does this, is we need to get rid of subsidies to animal agriculture and move them over to plant-based agriculture. That's really a huge one because getting people to go vegan on a case-by-case basis, or like maybe with videos or social media or whatever, is huge, and it's super helpful. But the reality is that if a steak costs $50, no one's buying it. If a carton of eggs costs whatever, you know what I mean, like $30, no one's buying it. Everyone's eating plant-based. And suddenly you don't really need cubes of truth anymore because everyone is essentially economically forced to eat a plant-based diet, and that would just be insane.
You know what? That's a really, really good point. I think that a lot of people might not, well, a lot of people don't know that, first of all, but the ones that do know that might not have heard it put in that way. So I really like it when you say that a steak is $50 or a carton of eggs is like $30 or whatever, that would really, really force people not to pay for it and not to buy it. And also you can understand why the animal agriculture industry wouldn't want that to happen, because then business is gone, then business is done. And that's why they spend millions and millions of dollars lobbying Congress. So yeah, that's an amazing point, and I really like that. All right. So question number 2, who are your favorite activists? Maybe top 3.
Joey Carbstrong, James Aspey. This is where it gets tough because there's so many good ones. Earthling Ed, but so many good ones. That's a hard question.
That is a very tough question. I think that for a lot of people that pay attention to social media and watch a lot of content, that those 3 definitely come fresh to people's mind. And I can understand. I mean, like I told you earlier that, you know, part of the reason why I was active is because of Joey Carbstrong. He's the first one, the first true activist that I saw that was on the streets, and he helped me learn how to answer the questions. He learned how to help me answer the excuses. But beyond that, he explained in a way of why we need to get active and what happens. And Earthling Ed said a really good point that I like to reiterate, that he said, if you see someone on the street kicking a dog, right? And they're kicking a dog, you have one option is you can walk by and do nothing and say nothing, and that dog will continue to get abused, right? And then you have another option that you can go in and help that dog and make sure that dog isn't getting abused. You can stop the person and you can prevent them from doing it. And that really is activism, right? So the first option would be not participating, like really not helping that dog get beat. And that's veganism, right? In a sense, right? You're not participating in the action of abusing the dog, or you're not participating in the action of hurting the cow or hurting the chicken because you're not funding it, right? And that's what we say, like a step 1. That's like the least that you can do. And then the second step is putting an end to that dog's suffering by stopping somehow, screaming, shouting, holding that person back from beating that dog. And that's activism. And so Earthling Ed said that really well. And that's really, for me, why I was active, because if enough of us are doing that, then of course it's going to stop eventually. And it's not enough to just stop participating in the violence. We have to somehow, some way, stop the violence, right? As tall and as challenging as that may seem, it's possible, right? They always say it's impossible until it's done, right? Once it's done, then we say, oh yeah, it's possible. All right. So yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you with those activists, and those are some of the ways that they inspired me. So question number 3. All right. So give us your best tip for dealing with non-vegan family members.
Non-vegan family members. This might not be the most popular thing to say, but I think this is, for your own sanity, the best thing to do. So the animals, from their perspective, they don't care if your mom goes vegan or if someone on the street goes vegan. They don't care if someone at your work goes vegan or someone on the street goes vegan. So I believe that as long as your activism is consistent in what you do with the general public that you don't personally know, then I think it is more effective, and I define effective as bringing us towards animal liberation while maintaining your sanity so you can keep helping out the cause. It's more effective to go after easy targets, and not hard targets. Like, you don't, like, I don't talk to my family about veganism, and I don't bring my veganism to work because, they're going to make fun of me. And I don't care if random people on the street make fun of me. And I don't care if people at work make fun of me, but it's going to make my life harder. And I don't want to do things that make my life harder that don't make a difference to the animals, because I'm very consistent about my social media activism, and I'm very consistent about the cubes of truth I go to. And so, like, you'll notice the videos I post on are always, videos that will bring animal lovers. They're always about the cute dogs and whatnot, because those are going to bring the easy targets. I'm not necessarily posting on like the hardcore hunting videos where, you have a bunch of people who are already desensitized to killing sentient beings. So, like, I think it's more effective to go after the easy targets of the people that mindlessly are going to the supermarket and paying for the worst horrors we could imagine.
I think again, you made an amazing point. I really like that. And I think you should change the wording just a slight bit. I don't know if easy target is the best. I think an open-minded target, or open-minded person, like a person that's likely to receive the message that you're sending, right? If you're trying to send a message to someone that doesn't want to receive the message, and they've already made that clear, then you're right, you're wasting your time. And that time could be better spent on someone that's ready to receive the message, and I think that everything else you said is perfect. And I think that's like, again, I haven't heard it put quite like that. So I really, really like that. I think that'll bring a lot of people value, because that's a great point. Not to criticize in any way, but easy can be construed as negative, right? Like, you say a girl's easy, it's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not easy, or whatever, right? And then it's just, they're open-minded, right? They're open-minded. So yeah, that's really, really good. I like that a lot. Even though, like you said, it might not be popular or whatever, but it just makes sense. And you're right. We only have so many hours in the day, right? So, within those hours, like, we have to make them the most effective. And so, yeah, I like that a lot. So next question. What are your thoughts about the recent climate strikes?
That can be a broad question. So it really depends which facet of the strike. So we recently had a climate strike here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, where they blocked off a bridge, and the police just helped them out and just shut down the bridge. And it created a huge hassle for everyone. And I really wanted to go down there and go down there with a sign similar to that Australian sign that said, "Shut up about climate change. If you have meat in your mouth, watch Cowspiracy." Something like that. I got into a lot of trouble posting a picture of that sign on the local veg group here, but I think my argument is pretty solid as to why it's a good sign, and it's that it's a very aggressive sign. It's aggressive to say, shut up about this thing that, is such an important thing. Stop talking about it. But then followed by, if there's meat in your mouth, watch Cowspiracy. I would never use that sort of aggression or assertiveness towards some random person on the street who came up in a cube of truth. But in terms of climate activists, these are already angry, for good reason, angry and impassioned people, and we need to just redirect their anger, which they should have, into the right direction, and then we can all be putting our passions into the right causes. And so, what do I think about the climate?
Can I say something
actions
about that really quick?
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. And I think that your mindset and your logic is the exact reason why Extinction Rebellion partnered with Animal Rebellion, because of what you just said. I think that's the exact reason why. They just saw it as undeniable. I was listening to part of the speech today about the live. You know that they are Animal Rebellion and Extinction Rebellion partnered together, and they're in London right now. October 7th is today. I was watching part of the live stream, and it was one of the Extinction Rebellion leaders, one of the leaders, and he was saying how he went vegan like not that long ago. I think he was saying maybe about less than a year he went vegan, and he was explaining a little bit why. And he said that it only made sense that we're fighting for the same cause, that we just joined forces, right? We're already fighting for the same thing. And what they need, what Extinction Rebellion needs to accomplish their goal is more people. What Animal Rebellion needs to accomplish their goal is more people. So join forces. It just makes absolute sense. So I think I agree with you perfectly. Yeah. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, so like I watch a lot of those videos where, like the latest one I saw was from Benny the Vegan, who's awesome if you haven't heard of him, Benny the Vegan.
Yeah.
And he went to a climate activist event, wherever it was in the United States somewhere, and he asked them those questions. And there's plenty of people who say, I just like the taste of animals too much. So even though you tell me that it's one of the largest contributors to climate change, which is the thing that I'm protesting against, I just like the pleasure that it gives me too much. So like they sacrifice their entire, like right on screen, they just trash their entire movement, and they don't realize it and they don't recognize it. And I'm sure you've seen these before, but so that's what I think. So I'll sum it up. So I think just about every climate action I've ever seen has been misguided. I don't think Greta Thunberg is misguided. I mean, she's vegan. She knows what's up. But I think every action I've personally seen has been misguided. And so I really support, like we had the climate marches, the school strike for climate or whatever it was last year. And we went to them with signs that said animal agriculture puts out, so-and-so number and so-and-so. And I spoke in front of 200 kids, and I basically called them all hypocrites. I didn't mince words, and they all applauded me for some reason. But like, I feel like that's what it comes down to, is that I would never be that assertive or aggressive to some random person. But I feel like climate activists are already angry and assertive. And so they can take it a bit harder.
Yeah. You make some good points. I really, really like that. Seriously. So question number 5. All right. So last question. So what's the biggest myth about going vegan? Like what do you think is the biggest myth to you?
So the myth changed, since I've gotten older. So like, I think 4 years ago, the biggest myth for me was that you can't get enough protein. And nowadays people just aren't, saying that anymore around my area. Like I think enough people realize that's an absurd thing to say. And now the myth that I keep hearing is it's too expensive. I can't do it because it's too expensive. Yeah.
So what do you say to that? What do you say to that myth?
Well, I tell them that my grocery bill is $50 a week Canadian, which is pretty low here. And so I remember at work we were, I don't know how we got on this topic, but we were comparing grocery bills, and one guy was like, huge meat eater, huge animal product eater. And he's like, yeah, I pay $500 a month for groceries. And like another guy was like, yeah, I pay $350. And I'm like, I pay $200 and I eat 2,600 calories a day. And I buy like fresh organic produce from the farmer's market, like the expensive stuff, which isn't that expensive. So like if I wanted to, I could probably cut it down to $100 a month, $25 a week. But yeah, so that's what I say to that, because then that gets them interested, because then they say, oh, well, how do you do that? And then another thing I'll get sometimes is they'll be like, oh, but those Beyond Burgers are so expensive. I could never go vegan because I couldn't afford Beyond Burgers or whatever. And then I say, well, like, and I actually got this from an Earthling Ed video. He said, well, the cheapest foods in the supermarket is the grains and the beans and the pasta and the potatoes. So, I mean, obviously there is a cheap way to eat vegan and there is an expensive way to eat vegan. And people I've found respond very quickly to that kind of logic. They're just like, oh, obviously, just like there's a cheap way to eat animal products and there's an expensive way to eat animal products.
Yeah, of course. Like you're so right. And I think that something I don't have in my tool bag or my arsenal is the grocery bill comparison. I don't do calculations on that enough, to really have those numbers and ready to go. But I definitely have a lot of the similar, like explaining, what's the cheapest in the market, and what those prices are and what you have to eat and what's necessary to eat. And of course, it's not necessary to eat Beyond Burgers. And even people in America where they eat burgers more than anyone in the world, per person is an average of 3 a week. Right. And for someone that doesn't eat 3 a week, that sounds a lot, but what is 3 Beyond Meat burgers a week? How much money is that? That's really not that much. And if you're anywhere else in the world, like Canada is an average 3 a week, probably. Like if the US is number one, then they're less, right? So maybe they're 2 a week, right? Or 2.5, whatever the actual number is. So because of that, like, let's say it is 2 a week. Okay. How much is Beyond Burgers? 2 a week. And then a lot of beans, a lot of rice, a lot of fresh fruit, a lot of grains, right? 2 slices of cheese. If you want cheese burgers, vegan cheese, how expensive is it? You're right. You're really close to the numbers that you're talking about. But if you eat out every single day, twice a day, no matter what diet you're on, that's always going to be more. It's always going to be expensive. So yeah, that's very true. All right, cool. So great job on the quick vegan questions that weren't so quick, which is how they always go. So don't feel bad. Actually, you were quicker than most. So tell us who we're talking to. Who is this guy that we're talking to? Tell us about yourself.
Okay. Hey, guys and girls who are listening. My name is James. I'm from Canada, Halifax, Nova Scotia. I've been in the military for around 8 years. I fix helicopters. I've been vegan for about 7 years.
You have,
but I've only been
helicopters?
an activist. No, I fix helicopters.
Oh,
I wish I had 6 helicopters.
I was like, oh my God. Like you could have flown over here for the podcast. Like, why are we on the internet?
Yeah, I fix helicopters for a living. Fix them. And and so I've been vegan 7 years, but I've been an activist for only 4 years. And that's why I was so impressed that you said you've only been vegan 2 years and you're producing this much content and you're putting out this much information. And I remember the reason is because my ex-girlfriend, so I was just eating a plant-based diet and I was sort of the mind of like, yeah, you can eat a steak in front of me. That's fine. You do you, personal choice. But then she got me, she was a vegan activist and I was just on a plant-based diet. And then she got me to watch Cowspiracy. And I was like, sure, why not? I'm already on a plant-based diet. And then I realized, oh, wait, this is actually important enough that I'm going to tell other people about it. But yeah, that's me for activism.
Cool, man. Awesome. So tell me, why did you go vegan? Like what happened? Like how, like 7 years is honestly impressive. So I would imagine 7 years ago, it was much different than it is today. And I think that a little bit of why maybe I went fast is because there were so many more people active and sharing their content. And maybe 4 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever, there wasn't quite as many people really being active. Like it wasn't quite as, it's exploded. It's really exploded recently. Some people that don't even know about the movement Like if you look at the last couple of years, like they are saying that it's going triple, 3 times every year. So you have 500,000, let's say, for example, and then you triple that, that's 1.5 million. And then you triple that, right? It's tripling every year. It's not going like linear where it's like, it's like on a huge, like growth spurt. Because if you do times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 of any number, like certainly it's gonna be at an exploding point. And that's kind of what's happening. So for you, I just imagine like time was different. So probably the reasons that you might make that switch would be different, than my reason. So what's the reason why you went vegan?
So 7 years ago, so all my life, I thought we needed to eat animals to be healthy. And that was my justification for eating animals. And then just randomly 7 years ago, I see a YouTube video pop up on my recommended feed of vegan athletes. And I watched that and instantly my mind is blown. I'm like, okay, I don't need any more evidence. I don't need to read studies on health or anything. There it is right in front of me. This guy, he's been vegan for 12 years. He's doing handstand push-ups on like a fence or like on the monkey bars or something. It's just like, clearly he has muscles made of steel. Clearly you'd be just fine. So I was just curious at this point. So I didn't really do it for health. I did it out of curiosity. And then it probably becomes the same old story. Like you do it for a week. Okay, that was kind of inconvenient, and I was in the military at this time. So I think a bit of the discipline, I just got off basic training, a bit of the discipline kicked in. Or actually, no, correction. I had been in the military for a couple of years by now, but I think a bit of the discipline kicked in and I was like, you know what? I did it for a week. I'm going to do it for 2 weeks because why not? And then 2 weeks was pretty easy. And I was like, actually, this is getting easier. Let's see what 3 weeks feels like. Easier. And it goes on and on and on and on. And eventually it's like, okay, this is actually pretty easy. And then I'm plant-based, not ethically thinking, because now I'm just like, I'm thinking about all the selfish reasons. I'm thinking like, you know what? I feel better. And, yeah, like I'm 28 and I feel like I was 19. It's like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And, but then I watch Cowspiracy and then suddenly ethics becomes on my mind. And then now I'm watching slaughterhouse footage and I'm looking at it through a different lens, because before I was looking at it through the, we need to eat animals to be healthy lens. So it was not that big of a deal. But now I'm looking at it. This is similar to James Aspie's speech, the best speech you'll ever hear, James Aspie. But now I'm looking at it through the lens of, we don't need to eat animals to be healthy. So what justification do we have for doing these horrible things to them? This is an injustice. And so there you go. But unfortunately, that was like 3 years in.
Yeah, well, for sure, everyone has a different journey, and you can't have a different journey than your own. So sharing your journey and what happens and kind of the ways that you go through it is unique to you, and no one can take that away from you. And when you say that that you were going to try it, honestly, no matter what the reason anyone actually does go vegan, whether it's I'm going to go vegan for health or animals or environment, really whatever the reason is, I think it all starts with the curiosity. It all starts with the curiosity of, let me try this. Because when I think back and I could say, yeah, I went vegan after I watched What the Health, but right before or right after watching What the Health was a decision of, can I do this? Like, what happens if I do it? What is going to happen to me? Will I wither away and die of protein deficiency like everybody says will happen? Am I going to be hospitalized? Am I going to not have enough nutrients? You ask those questions, and it is a curiosity. And when you try it, yeah, like anything that's new, I always say when you ride a bike for the first time, like it's hard, but after a couple weeks of riding a bike, like you got it down pretty good. Or the first time you drive a car, like, man, I remember the first time I got on the highway in a car, and I was, in the US, I don't know how it is everywhere, but in the US, you have to have like someone that's 25 or older be with you while you're learning how to drive, like with your learner's permit. And so my dad was in the car, and I remember getting on the freeway, or we call it the freeway in the US. I don't know what it's called everywhere else. The highway, the freeway. I'm getting on the on-ramp, and I was supposed to change lanes because that's what you do when you're getting on. You start in the slow lane and you progressively go over however many lanes you need to go. But I was so scared because it was my first time getting on the highway, but now I have to change lanes, that I just got off the next exit because I freaked out. Like, I was scared. But that was my first time. So as I started driving more, like, I mean, shoot, that's not even the case. Like, changing lanes is a cinch. It's no problem. I don't even think about changing lanes, you know? And so the first time on an airplane, right? Your first time flying is terrifying. You're like, are we going to die? I saw Final Destination. I remember the plane blew up. You know, whatever goes into your mind, it's pretty scary, but you do it enough times and it becomes like nothing else. So I don't think going vegan is any different. It's exactly the same. It's scary at first. You might die of protein deficiency. You might not. Just look at the hospitals in the who's really sick. You don't see any vegans in there, and you don't see anyone that's protein deficient. So you know that that's not likely to happen, but you still kind of think that in the back of your mind because that's what you've been told your whole life. So it's scary at first, but after a couple of weeks, you're right. It becomes easy. And now 2 years in, 7 years in, however many years you're into it, you don't think about it. When you go to the supermarket, you know what to buy because you've done it a bunch of times. But the first time you went to the supermarket, what is it like? What is it like going to the supermarket the first time? It's challenging, or it's confusing, or what do I buy? What do I eat? You know, I've heard stories of people say, yeah, the first time I went vegan, I just ate cans of beans every day because I didn't know what the heck to eat. Or some people say, yeah, I ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or whatever. It sounds funny about any story of the first time they went vegan and what they start eating. I think we all were there at some point, and I think we all kind of went through that. But I always say, like, if I don't go this long into saying it, I pretty much always say, remember the first time riding a bike, or the first time walking, or the first time flying. Those kind of three, like, quick, easy, understandable things, people kind of click and it resonates, and then they're like, oh yeah, you know, you're right. It was kind of hard walking for the first time. You know, you have to learn how to crawl before you can walk. You have to learn how to walk before you can run. And a few weeks in, like, you start running. So yeah, I think that is a very true point. Is just being curious. Yeah. So then I like that you said in the very beginning, you were talking about a little bit more how you kind of switched your mind into activism and how that changed you. Can you tell me a little bit more about, you know, why be active? Like, what's the point of being active? Isn't being vegan enough? And then what do you do specifically to be active?
So if you think about, so I'm going to take a hypothetical person who went vegan because they saw what's happening to animals. They saw some slaughterhouse footage. They watched Cowspiracy. They followed James Aspey, and they decided, you know what? I'm not going to contribute to that anymore because I think it's wrong. Okay, that's great. Well, and this hypothetical person who thinks it's wrong is not speaking about veganism, but they think it's wrong. So I'm going to tell that hypothetical person, the fastest way to create more vegans, and I assume you want that because you think it's wrong, is to get non-vegans, or pre-vegans as I call them, to go vegan. And so it's funny when you brought up that thing. I didn't know it was from Earthling Ed, that thing about the dog where the meat eater joins in beating the dog, the vegan walks by, and the vegan activist actually protects the dog, because that is exactly the thing that turned me into a serious activist. Like, watching Cowspiracy was like, whoa. But then shortly after, I saw like the meme of the dogs, and I was like, that's it. Because, I mean, the kind of person that I aspire to be is the kind of person that would protect the dog. And so that compels me, even if it's against my will, compels me to become an activist. And then the more you do it, the more you feel you need to be an activist. So I got off track. What was the question?
No, yeah, you're perfect. You explained why someone would be an activist. And then the question is, what do you do to be active for the animals? Like, how do you speak up for them? What's your style?
So me personally, so I think social media activism is a huge thing, especially because of the way Facebook works in that it prioritizes content. So you click on a video and there's a list of comments of people on that video, and those comments are ordered based on the engagement that they receive. And engagement means like how many smile emoticons did they get? How many replies did they get? Is this a really popular comment? That kind of thing. And so
I didn't know that, actually.
Like oh yeah. And yeah, so I'm part of a group called Digital Vegan Activists on Facebook, where the way it works is, and this is one of the reasons you see me posting so much, is I would add like a huge group like at Lad Bible or Unilad or something that has like a million plus followers, and I would add them to my like see first notifications in Facebook. So every time they make a new post, I see it first, so I can get in early. So like say they make a post and it's 30 seconds old, and I can go there and like only 10 people have commented, but there's 500,000 behind me that are about to comment. So I make my comment first. That 500,000 all see it and they get angry and they reply, which is just boosting it to the top. Meanwhile, I grab the timestamp link, which is a direct link that you can copy on Facebook. It's where it says like this post is 5 minutes old or 10 minutes old. You can right click that and copy link. And I paste that into my Digital Vegan Activist group. And then I have, 100 other people coming in and supporting my post and replying to it and replying to the trolls. And it's just getting it to the top. And meanwhile, hundreds of people are seeing it. And I believe there's a lot of value in that, because I can essentially do all that from the beach if I need to. You know what I mean? And so this allows me to do multiple kinds of activism at the same time. So like I attend every Cube of Truth I can do, but this doesn't affect my social media activism at all. I can do them both. And one thing I wanted to touch on is, and I think Joey Carbstrong put this really well. There are so many ways to be an activist that are so simple. So like, for example, I have magnet stickers on my car that say, there's no such thing as humane slaughter. And it's got pictures of, cute animals. It attracts people looking at it. I wear t-shirts. I wear a shirt that says my food doesn't scream. And people, you're walking around on your regular day, you're going to buy groceries with your car with stickers on it and your shirt. And, people are getting that message. They're getting the seed planted. And sure, many people get angry, but they're still facing a question that they've most likely never been asked before. So, for anyone who hears the word activist and think, oh, I don't want to be one of those, aggressive vegans that barges into restaurants and screams at people. Well, I mean, that's only one form of activism. And I suggest you start in the ways that you can be absolutely consistent about, like, for example, wearing t-shirts all the time. Anytime, if you're going out, you're wearing a t-shirt that says some kind of clearly advocating veganism slogan. If you can put magnets on your car, Joey Carbstrong gave me this great idea. Always walk around with cards in your pocket that have a list of links that you can just, if you talk to someone and they see your vegan t-shirt that you're wearing and they start asking you questions, you can be like, well, here's a card with a lot of resources on it if you want to check it out. You should always be ready for that at all times. So yeah, activism is really simple, because even if you're, and I'm quoting Joey Carbstrong on this, even if your form of activism is to be on the beach and liking vegan posts and sharing vegan content, in my eyes, you are an activist.
Yeah, because for me personally, as a content creator, the most effective thing that you could do to help me as a content creator is share the shit out of my stuff. If every single follower that I have shares every single piece of content that I have, like, how much more valuable would that content be? If nobody shares any single piece of my content, just me, like as an example, then it's a waste. I spent hours or whatever time to create that content. And if it doesn't get shared, I wasted my time. And it might, you never know who's going to see that. And just put that into your example. What if you create something? What if someone that's listening creates something? What if you create an amazing song with powerful lyrics because you love playing the guitar? and nobody shares it. Nobody listens to it. What does that do? It's great that you created it, but if it's meant to make an impact and it doesn't share, then it can be very, very, wasteful. And everyone can do that. You're so right. Everybody can like and share. I tell people, just like, share, and comment, because the algorithm tells it that it's popular. The reason for Instagram, because I know a little bit more about Instagram algorithms. I mean, I just got lucky on Facebook. I swear I just got lucky. Like, I'm not going to take much credit. Yeah, I put in a lot of work, but I got lucky on Facebook. On Instagram, I did a little bit more strategy. And I know one of the biggest things that Instagram likes in the algorithm is when you tag someone, when you tag them, and you put at in someone's name. And so why do you think every great content creator on Instagram says tag this friend, or tag a friend on this, or tag someone that agrees with this, or tag someone that is this, or whatever their topic is? Not everyone, but a lot of the ones that are successful, that's the reason they do it. And I started doing that. And I think that it's a lot more impactful, because that algorithm says, hey, they like this enough to take time to choose someone that they want to see this. So that tells us it's popular. Same way that you talk about the algorithm on Facebook, it's a similar idea for Instagram. I'm sure that in the Facebook algorithm also likes tagging as well. I couldn't see a reason why it wouldn't. But I know for sure that's a big one on Instagram. But I really, really want you to share a little bit more about how can someone that wants to be active on Facebook in the same way that you're doing it, how can they do the same thing that you are? How can they join in on that? Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I'm not lying. I'm one of those people. I'm really interested when you were saying this. So I want to know for myself, but also for the listeners that might be interested in doing that same thing.
I'm going to make some changes to how I behave on Instagram too, because I've been hashtagging everything. But at tagging is also interesting. I'm going to do that. But anyway, okay. So there's other groups besides Digital Vegan Activists, and I believe that's a private group, like it's not searchable. So I think the way to do it would be to add me, James Purcell, and message me and say you want to get in, and then I'll add you. I'm one of the admins for the group, so I'll add you and tag you to the file that explains what we do. There's also another one similar, which is just a closed group. You can search it, called Vegan Swarm, like the Zerg from StarCraft, Swarm, Vegan Swarm. And actually, I've been in communication with them. We share a lot of the same ideas. They use a lot of our information. And really, those are the only group. But you know what? I'll tell you this. I find Digital Vegan Activists and having a group behind you very helpful, to have people come. But the reality is that you can do this on your own, I believe. And it comes down to the whole, you can navigate to a page like Unilad or Lad Bible, or I don't know, McDonald's or whatever, and you can select the option that says see notifications first. And then they appear first, and you can be the one that gets in early, make your comment, post your meme advocating veganism, and then all the responses come to you without the need of a group like Digital Vegan Activists. It is super helpful to have a pile of people that are allies come in and reply to comments to help you. But what I'm trying to say is you can get started like immediately. I think you should do both. I think everyone should do both. Join Digital Vegan Activists, or join Vegan Swarm, or seek out a group like that. And also add a bunch of pages that have a ton of followers, whatever it is, Now This Food or something. And I also use them. And then you can get in early and make your comment. And another one I'll tell you. So there was Digital Vegan Activists, there was Vegan Swarm, and this one's a closed group, so you can search it, is VU2, like Vegan Underworld. That was the old name, but now it's just the letters. VU, like Victor Uniform 2, VU2. And it's the exact same principle.
When you start, right? So I think what I noticed for you is the way you started off is very important. So you're very consistent. You say relatively the same thing every time to start off. I mean, at least when I first encountered you and I was first really impressed with what you do, and I didn't know that you had a system. I just thought like, man, he's so always there. Especially now this food, I think was the first one. And I was with you a few times, with this food, is that you started off the same way. Can you tell us a little bit about how you started off and why do you think that's important? Like the first message that you start off, you have like a couple messages that you start off with.
I keep a text file, so I copy and paste the template and then I fill in what I need to. But where did I get the template? From digital vegan activists, from people who've been doing this longer than me, who said, you know what, we need a consistent template because we have a few people in this group who are the pros, who really know what's up. And then we have a ton of people in this group that, they're just interested in learning more and they're not really sure about how the algorithm works or what the point of, or even how to get a timestamp link to paste it in there. We have to educate people on that a lot, which is fine.
I didn't even know that.
That's where
that's
I got
new to me.
Yeah. So, and you know what I'm talking about, where it says a Facebook post and it says like 5 minutes under it or something. You right click that, it opens up a new window and then copy link. You now have the timestamp link and you can now share that link in another group and people will go directly to your comment, assuming your comment hasn't been like hidden or something by the page owner.
Is there a way to do
deleted.
it on mobile for people that only use mobile Facebook?
No.
Okay, so good to know. Yeah, so you got to go on the computer, but then of course it'll be saved because you do it on your phone too, right?
Yeah. So what I'll often do for people that do only have mobile and they post like a good link, is like if they say they're on mobile and I'm on a computer, because I'm usually on a computer because I have a lot of free time in my job, then I will find the timestamp link for them and then like post it in a comment in reply to their thing, and then they can choose to edit their post with the timestamp link. You know what I mean? It's essentially me giving them the timestamp link.
Yeah, for sure, of course. Yeah, I mean, once it's a link, then shareable.
I'm convinced that there exists a silent majority of people that are too smart to troll comments, like to troll a vegan. So they just sit there, with the popcorn, and they watch and they listen because they're too smart, or they're nice people and they don't want to be jerks. And so they will and those are the people that we're speaking to. When we're replying to these trolls, the trolls are tools. They are useful tools to boost that post up to the top and to engage indirectly that silent majority of people, because those are the people that are going to be the open-minded ones who like, you know what, that vegan, he made a good point. That meat eater like me, he's not making a good argument. I'm going to sit and watch some more, but maybe I'll listen to more vegans in the future, or maybe next time I see a cube of truth, I'll be a bit more receptive. It's like what that vegan couple said. I think they originally said it where, it's a numerical system, 0 to 100, 100 being vegan and 0 being like you've never heard of veganism. And everyone's at a different number, and maybe you're not going to make someone go vegan, but maybe you'll take them to like a 50, and then the next person will take them to like an 80, and then the next person will be like, you know what, you may as well just get rid of that cheese, like, because look at this image of them separating the baby calves, like, isn't that horrible? And then you have a vegan, and then you could talk about turning them into an activist. It's like, now would you want more people to fight against this? Like, do you think this is something that we need to stop doing? Because the best way to make that happen is for all of us vegans to get other people to go vegan.
You know what? I say the exact same thing, but I use it as a percentage. So I say 0 to 100%. And I say we're all born vegan, right? And then at some point, we drink our mom's milk. That's vegan. Then at some point we're introduced to animal products, and now we grow, and now we're at 100%, or we started 100% vegan and we go down to 0% at some point. And then it's a climb back to get to the percentage back to 100%, right? And maybe you talk to them, right? So I just have it a little bit different, but in a percentage, right? So yeah, maybe a speech and now that adds 5%, or maybe they, see some animals, animals suffering and that adds 10%. Eventually they get back to 100% vegan. So I say it a little bit different, but that's so true. And I also say the same exact thing about trolls. I love that you say that. So sometimes people are like, why are you commenting on them? Why are you wasting your time? You're never going to get through to them. I'm like, hold on a second. I am speaking to an audience. I'm not speaking to them. They are giving me, the fuel, and the content, to share with others. Other people are reading this. You don't know who's reading. You don't know who's thinking. So if I give good points and I say certain things that are very important and very valuable, and yeah, you're right, if it's a good point, then the person reading starts the wheels turning and they start to think a little bit different. They start to be like, maybe they're freaking right, about this, maybe I was wrong. And, cause another person that I was talking to said it really, really well. They said, if everybody knew what I knew, they would be vegan. And then they said, so it's really simple. All we have to do is educate. If we educate enough, they know what we know, then they'll be vegan. Right. And I've always said, of course, I've always thought, yeah, if they knew what I knew, like if you knew what I knew, like, well, teach them. Like, if you want them to know what you know, then show them the way, educate them. And eventually they'll get to the point, where they do know what you know, or they know a good amount. Or some people say, if they only knew half of what I knew, well, how do you get them to half of what you know? Start talking about it, start sharing. So I like that. But I really want to reiterate the main question that I had asked you, because I really want to know, what exactly do you say? What are the things that you say? Like, I know you post about you have a vegan sidekick one, okay, where it's the excuses. Tell me exactly what you post on the first few, not every single thing you talk about, but what are the first few? Give me 2 or 3, exactly what you say, because I want to know.
To a specific comment, or just
no. The first
I kind of.
You're the first you're on Lad Bible, or you're on Now This Food, and the first thing you say, what is it? Okay.
So if I'm on Lad Bible or Now This Food or whatever, then it's going to be something involving, well, let's go with Lad Bible. It's going to be something involving like that cute dog. Look at this cute dog. He's spinning around and it's super cute, and he's eating a Dorito out of my hand. And I got this idea from another person who's been doing this along with me, and he said, shorter posts, according to this guy, seem to be engaged more. Shorter posts. So what I do is, and specifically posts that create interests, maybe even in a challenging way. And so all I do is I say, something doesn't make sense here. And then I post a picture. So something doesn't make sense here. People see that. They're like, what? Oh, I can just click on that because I'll figure it out, because I'm the man. I'll figure it out. Something doesn't make sense.
That's so true.
We all have a little bit of ego. And so something doesn't make sense here. They click on it, and I have a couple memes that are my favorite ones to use. Like one of them is a meme of a picture where it's you would help them, and it shows a picture of someone like a firefighter rescuing a baby seal or something. And in the next caption below, it says, so stop paying for their deaths. And it shows like a cow in a slaughterhouse. And and that's the thing that doesn't make sense. And it's on a video that's going to attract self-proclaimed animal lovers. So they're going to see that, and they'll get angry at first, and they'll probably yell at me, but they're also going to be thinking that you're right, that doesn't actually make sense. So I like to keep it really simple. However, sometimes I'll post a longer comment where I'll get into the specifics of, it's all about highlighting the contradiction that animal lovers are making. For me, is that because you can also comment on people, that are, oh, it's so cruel to hunt elephants for ivory. Look at this cruelty. Those poachers, they should be put to death. And then I'll say something like, I see a whole lot of animal lovers here, but how many of you are vegan? How cruel is it to point at a sentient being and say, you know what? My personal pleasure is of more value than your life and all the joy that you could experience in that entire life. how cruel is that? And isn't there a contradiction between saying I care about animals, but also I'm willing to kill them for my pleasure? And those ones, it depends the audience. That's a longer one. People have short attention spans, but I'm a big fan of combining a meme with a challenge statement, like something doesn't make sense here. So
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, that's generally what I do now.
Tell me about Now This Food. So Now This Food, for what I understand from following them as well, is they'll typically post food, of course, and they do a relatively good job of doing different kinds of food. So sometimes they have vegan food, sometimes they have meat food, sometimes they have all kinds of. I mean, it's just food, you know. And in their mind, animals are food as well, right? It's just vegan food and animal food is food, right? So they say Now This Food. And so they post food. What is something that you typically comment for the food one on Now This Food?
When they're actually showing food, I'm a bit more aggressive. Well, I mean, animal flesh. Animal products. I'm a bit more aggressive, but not because I feel that I need to be more aggressive because they're showing animal products. It's just I feel the most effective statement happens to be a more aggressive statement, and it's that I just get right to it. Since we don't need to eat animals to be healthy, is it morally justifiable to keep killing them? And then I'll, depending on the page, like if it's known for blocking people who post videos, then I'll post a meme with the comment. And if it's not a page, like I think I can get away with it, then I'll post a video, like the Omnivore Excuses video on YouTube, which I like quite a lot. Omnivore Excuses Addressed or something like that. A really useful video. Like anyone who's interested in getting more involved in a Facebook specific social media activism, I suggest keeping a text file of copy and paste responses. And then you can also add your own flavor, but like a lot of the basic arguments are always the same. And it's useful, especially for the climate change people, to have a list of links to say, well, this is why you should be concerned about animal ag if you're so passionate about climate change. So a text file and also a folder of memes, and then just like start a collection, even if they're like you start out with the crappy ineffective ones, and then you just find better and better ones as you go. It just makes this form of activism so much easier. I remember when I first started, I didn't know if I could keep this up just because I was typing everything out over and over, and I was like, oh, I'm tired of typing out the same thing. It's so annoying. And then I was thinking, wait, why don't I just copy and paste it into a text file? And everything became easier. And then I learned that other people do this, and that, I've found people that put it up on a Google Drive and stuff like that, and people like Pafo Ortiz, if you know him, posts folders of memes and stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me the one that you say on the Now This Food, I think it is, that's the meme that you use. I think it's a vegan sidekick one. Is that correct? It has like the sticky notes. The one with the little sticky notes.
Oh, that's one of my, that's one of my favorites.
So tell me about that one.
Yeah. So it's a picture of sticky notes, and they're colored in a way that attracts the eye, even from a distance. And the text is large, so you don't even have to click the meme to actually read a bit of it, although people are going to click it. And it's just a list of, and the top caption is things you would never say to justify violence. And then it shows sticky notes that are like, it just tastes good, or rather it gives me pleasure, or God said it was okay, or plants have feelings, or like just a list of, or but what about jobs, or whatever, or they don't feel like we do, that kind of thing. Things that you would never use to justify violence unless you were trying to rationalize why you aren't vegan. So it's good because it doesn't pop out the vegan word until the end, until they've already had that sort of emotional experience of seeing like, what is this guy talking about? Things that I would never use to justify violence. Well, you're right. I would never use these things to justify violence. Right? And then they see vegan, and now they're like, and they get angry, but they're also thinking. So I love that. And so what I'll often do, is I'll post my So I have to think tactically about what memes I'm going to use, depending on my audience. But I'm on that Lad Bible post, and there's the cute dog, and I post like something doesn't make sense here, and I post something about, that I feel the dog lovers will click on, and then I'll follow up that with a reply saying, and the title that I'll type in will be "before you comment," and then I'll post that colorful meme, because I want people to have that anger experience where I'm comparing the dog, slitting the dog's throat to slitting the pig's throat. Why love one and eat the other? And I want them to see that, get angry, click on my comment, and then see that second meme right while they're angry. And then they'll read that and be like, yeah, you're right. I would never use those to justify violence unless it's to rationalize you weren't vegan. Whoa. And then maybe they'll think about the reply. Usually not, but silent majority.
No, I think that more people do that than not. And you're right. There's certain people that are trolls. And what happens with a troll is that they are going to, like, nothing you can say will faze them. And it doesn't really matter what you say at all, because they have their mindset because they've done it before. It's kind of like once a troll, always a troll. Like the same way that you're very consistent in fighting for animals in your style, like the same way that they're very consistent in being a troll. And so it's not their first rodeo. So they've definitely been doing it for who knows how long. And so because they've been doing it for an extended period of time, like, you're not going to break them. And so it doesn't really matter what you say or what meme you use. You could have the best meme in the best situation on the best post, and you're not going to change those trolls. And that's okay. But accepting that and knowing that is also okay, because I think it's really hard for some people. Some people think, I'm going to break this troll. I'm going to get through to them. I'm going to be the one. I can change their mind. And then they get frustrated and they give up. And you got to think that it's not about the troll. It's about the people reading, or it's about the ones that jump in randomly that don't necessarily get into those comments, but maybe they got into it. Like, all of a sudden they're in the middle of it, and they're going back and forth. And that's the person that you need to talk to. And that's the person maybe that you're directing your more attention to, and it's really hard to sift between them sometimes. And even I'd have to tell myself, I have to remind myself, hey, this person's probably a troll. So think about what you say. Think about who would read this, and it's like, I don't know how to help someone, but like, let's say if you're talking to your mom, like, think about the troll. If that's your mom, like, how would you talk to her? Like, would you say, fuck you, whatever, would you say that to your mom? Like, no, like, you wouldn't. But would you tell your mom, like, hey mom, like, do you know that when you eat that steak, like, someone had to die for that, and the way they died for that was a very, very horrible death. I know it's hard to hear, but it's true. Like, you might say that to your mom, and that's okay. I mean, depending on the person, but like, that could seem as acceptable, and when you speak to the trolls like that, I think that could be more effective. I don't know if that's the best advice that I could give someone, but does that make sense? And I hope that helps. It's the first time I said it like this. I mean, I haven't really talked about trolls to someone or with someone very often. But
Yeah.
do you think that maybe you can give some good advice on what you could say to a troll? I mean, that's my best advice is think of the troll as your mother, and how would you talk to them?
Well, I've never heard it put that way, but I think you nailed it there in that. And it's like what you said before, is that you are talking to an audience, and how do you want that audience to perceive you? I think that's in your reply, in the tone of your reply. I think you should be not thinking about how you want the troll to perceive you. Who cares? Who cares if they think you're weak or whatever? Who cares? They are a useful tool. That's it. But how do you want the audience of curious pre-vegans that are too smart to troll you and they're just reading, how do you want them to perceive you? Because you're setting the tone for that. And, there are times when I want that audience to perceive me as getting aggressive and passionate. And there are times when I want that audience to perceive me as calm and logical and unfazed and committed to the words I'm saying. That's usually how I want them to perceive me. It's almost like it's a performance. You know, you really want to be actually, I'm probably overcomplicating it, because it's more important to just educate always. But
I don't think so. I don't think, I mean, yeah, this is a long conversation about this particular topic, and you could say it's overcomplicated, but I think this is important. I think that there's people that are listening that don't understand that there's a tactful way to message. Just like anything, I think you're right. It is a performance. If you were going to be an actor, can you just go up and just do it all willy-nilly, or is there some time that it takes to be a really good actor? Do you think that, you know, someone that's a race car driver, like they just jump in, like driving on the street, and now they're a race car driver? There's a progression to everything that you do. And if you think about it as a performance, or you think about it as a progression and a tactfulness, at the very least being tactful and being smart about how you apply and just thinking about how you're being perceived, I think is enough to get the wheels turning and to make you be a little bit better. And then the question oftentimes, especially people that do this, because there's a lot of people that do this, you're not the only one, is that sometimes they don't realize that they aren't being effective. So how do you judge your effectiveness? How can you judge I was effective? You know, is there a way? Is there a way to measure your effectiveness? Like, how do you know?
I measure it. So I don't know of any accurate way to measure it. There's this, you have to, I mean,
not an accurate way, but like, let's say, for example, someone messaged you directly and they gave you a message directly that said, hey, you know what? I really listened to what you were saying. It really moved me, and I'm thinking about going vegan. Can you help me? That's effective, because now you are having someone that generated enough interest to maybe direct message you, and they want to learn more about it. That to me is being effective. If you get 0 direct messages, you never get a direct message ever. No one ever messages you or never reaches out to you to learn more. I would say you're not being effective. That's a simple way to, maybe that's the only way, but that's an example. Can you think of another example?
Well, I did this social media activism for, I think, a couple years before I got my first, well, maybe 1 year, a solid year before I got my first direct message saying, you know what, that thing you said, it got me thinking. And I remember one of the reasons I used that vegan sidekick meme all the time, the colorful one with the post-its, is because I posted it in a group called Nova Scotia Unfiltered, like a really toxic group of, like, it's, you know, a hive of scum and villainy on Facebook. And I posted that meme, and someone in that hive of scum and villainy said, that really made me think. And so that was when I thought, like, then I saw the power of this meme. But anyway, to measure effectiveness, I don't think that's the best way to do it, based on replies to you. Like, I think those are nice, but I don't think we should ever expect those. I think, so for me, how I measure effectiveness is a bit faith-based. And when I say faith-based, I don't mean religion. I mean, the entire core of my activism stems from the idea that most people are good. Most people, and I believe them when they say I'm against animal cruelty. They're hypocrites in their actions, but not in their mind. Like, I believe them, and I believe that they think that, and I think most people are good. And I think most people are not going to troll me. I think that's the vast minority of people. I think the vast majority, if there's a minority, there must be a majority. I think the majority is going to just read, or maybe scroll on by. But I think that's for me, a more useful measuring tool than just going by the 5 or 6 people that have DM'd me. Because if I had gone by that, then I might have given up or wanted to give up in my first year. There's one more thing I want to say for anyone who's interested in this type of activism, because I think this is pretty important. I made this post on the VU2 group. Once you get involved heavily in replying to a lot of comments, then you start getting a lot of replies. And so you'll come home from a day of work and you're tired, and you'll check your Facebook notifications, and there'll be 99 replies. And you know that half of them are going to be troll comments calling you a piece of shit and an idiot, and whatever. And I remember I went through a phase where it was like, those were just destroying me. And I got to a point where I did not want to click on my notifications, which was which is not a good thing, because the animals are the ones that are suffering from that if we give up on this form of activism. And what I realized, or at least what's helped me and what I posted in that group, is that those 99 notifications, or those 50 troll notifications, that's 50 people who are boosting your comments to the top. And all their friends, those 50 people, those 50 trolls, all their friends are seeing that they commented. And when you start replying to them, and then they reply back to you angrily, all their friends are seeing that this person is commenting a lot. Now they're curious and they're coming in, and now the post is getting boosted to the top, and now like digital vegan activist is coming in behind you and they're replying. It's all good. It's all a good thing for the animals. So when you come in and see those 99 notifications, that's better than 0 notifications.
Yeah, I think it's all about perspective. So it's very easy, especially with the activist lifestyle, to get down. There's days where we feel like we don't want to do it anymore. There's days where we want to give up. There's days where maybe there's just days where just a day that I don't want to do this, and that's okay. And take a break if you need to take a break at sometimes, right? Because it's healthy. You even see like James Aspey go on his huge yoga retreats, or not yoga, his meditation retreats, where he goes for days at a time and refreshes. You even see someone like Bill Gates will go away for a week and just read and just study and just focus. Those are healthy, and those are good for you, right? But at the same time, like every day is not going to be like that. You can't go on a vacation every day. You can't just take a day off every day. Otherwise, I mean, how effective would you be if you worked one day a year, right? So you have to somehow kind of reset your batteries in a way, or recharge or refuel, just like your car, like on a daily basis or whatever, on a weekly basis. And I think it's about perspective, so sometimes trying to find the right perspective can be key. So like, let's say, for example, I might think about what I'm going through, and I'm like, man, I'm going through a really hard time. Things aren't working out the way that I want, and I'm not happy about this or not happy about that, or, oh my gosh, people aren't going vegan like I think they should. Why don't they get it? And you could feel down and negative. And then so I sometimes, not always, but this could help some people, is, you look at the perspective and you say, well, what are the animals going through right now? And do they need me? And is it worse what I'm going through than what they're going through? And the answer is always no. Like, no matter what I'm going through, the animals are always in a worse position. They're locked up. They're in cages. They're getting kicked. They're getting beat. They're getting stabbed in the throat. They're getting electrocuted. They're getting drowned to death. They're getting their fur ripped off their back. And you just, even the nicest, most happiest, most wonderful farms on the planet, they are, prisoners at the very least. They cannot go where they want to go. They cannot eat what they want to eat. They cannot see who they want to see. They cannot be with their family members, or they cannot be with their friends like they want to be. And when it's time for them to become food, when it's time for them to be processed, they have to go to the same slaughterhouse that every single animal that goes through nice farms and happy farms, or a factory and the worst farms in the world, they're going to go in the same type of place. And anyone can look at the slaughterhouse footage. I highly recommend anyone that's listening at least watch Dominion. It's the newest, it's the most up to date. So at least that you're getting up to date information. It's not old. Not that old information is much different. I mean, it's still horrible. But Dominion is a great one because it really sums it up, and it has over 1 million views now on YouTube, so it's free. And the reason why is because in that film in particular, you're going to see every single, you're going to see free range animals, you're going to see factory farmed animals, you're going to see organic, you're going to see them all kind of in one place, so you can kind of understand what animals go through. And the reason why I mentioned this is, one, maybe people don't know this, what animals go through, and that whether it's factory farm to free range, that they end up in the same place, but also because you got to put it into perspective. So on a short-term basis, I think that can help. You just think, well, I'm fighting for who? Why am I doing this? What is the purpose of me being on Facebook? Is it for fun? Am I doing this for fun? Do I want to post these things? Do I want to get into arguments? Or do I want to get into conversations? Do I really want to do this? The answer is no for most people. Like, if I were to choose, be on Facebook for 3 hours a day, talking to trolls that are swearing at me, or going to the beach, or having fun with my friends, or going to play with my dog or whatever, I want to do that. Right? I don't want to be on Facebook if I were to choose between those two. But you have to ask yourself, who are you doing this for? Right? And the answer is the animals. You're doing this for the animals. So an easy perspective is, what are they going through? And is it worse than what I'm going through? And then it just changes your perspective, right? It's like the whole adage, if I have a glass half full or if I have a glass full, right? Whether you talk about optimism or pessimism or whatever you want to talk about, the idea is that the perspective, it's all about your perspective. So in a lot of things that you do in life, whatever it is, perspective really helps. And I don't think that activism in any way is different in perspective. Like, let's say you have a shitty job, you could say, I hate my job. This sucks. I don't want to be here. I don't like my boss. I don't like any of those things, right? Or you can change your perspective, right? And how do you change your perspective? Okay, I'm thankful that I have a job. I'm thankful that I have money. I'm thankful that I can use this money to pay my bills. I'm thankful that I can use this money to buy the things that I like, or whatever the case is. Perspective, I think, is one way that can help when you're talking about being down. What do you think about that? Do you agree with perspective?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing because I've been lately having this conversation with other activists, is that, you said it, it's like, I do not like activism. I do not, garner any enjoyment. I'm compelled to do it, but it's nice to dream about, and I mean this from a selfish perspective. It's nice to dream about, man, I wish I didn't have to be an activist, because then I could scuba dive more. I could practice singing and guitar and jujitsu or practice your hobbies more. But I'm compelled to be an activist, and I don't want to be, but if I put myself in the animal's shoes, then my wants become irrelevant.
Let's imagine that you're in their place, right? Imagine you're in the place of the animals. What would you want? You're in the farm, whether it's a nice farm or a bad farm. You're in the farm, you're in the place of the animals, and you can't get out. You can't escape. There's no way out. The only way out is by someone helping you out, and by someone, a person, a human, right, to help you out. What would you want them to say or do to free you? What would you want them to say or do? And when you start to think about it that way, you start to think about a lot of things that you would want someone to say. Like, man, if I was in a farm and I was in a pig or a chicken or a cow, I would want someone to say whatever they possibly can to get me out of there. I want to be with my friends. I want to be with my family. Even if I didn't know what's happening, at the very least, I don't want to be in pain. Stop hurting me. Why are you kicking me? Or why are you doing these things to me? If I was a cow on a dairy farm and I had my child taken away, I'd be like, why are you taking my child away? What the hell? Why are you doing that? Give that back. That's mine. At the very least, they know that. One of the worst sounds on a farm that you could possibly hear is a mother cow crying out for her young. And so the question is, what would you want someone to say or do for you if you were in their position? And that's the definition of empathy, is trying to put yourself in their shoes. We talk about empathy. People talk about empathy. They say, yeah, I'm empathetic. I know what it is. We're all born with it. We're all born with about the same amount of empathy. But somewhere down the lines, we're taught, block that emotion or put that to the side. but having empathy for someone else or an animal, which they are someone, they're not something, I mean, for sure. So I think that helps a lot is having a true empathy, not just saying the word, like, what does it mean? Which means put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel? And what would you want someone to say or do for you? And that gives you really clear perspective. Yeah. So
I agree.
Yeah. So, if someone is, or let's say this, is there anything that you really want to say that we didn't talk about and share about you? Or is there something that you want to reiterate, that is like one big thing that's just very important you don't want anyone to forget?
Yeah. So I want to reiterate, just to sum up, any vegans or even people who are just like on a plant-based diet listening to this, and they think of like, oh, activism that's a scary word, activism. I don't want to be one of those vegans that barges into a restaurant. Anyone like that out there, I want you to know that it is very effective, and it's a very viable strategy to just wear vegan t-shirts around all the time, or just put magnets on your cars, or on your car when you drive around and get groceries or something, because so many people are seeing that, and you don't have to even talk to them. I mean, it's not often people actually come up and engage me about my shirt that says "My food doesn't scream." And if every vegan I knew did that consistently every day, just turn themselves into a walking billboard for veganism and turn their car into a driving billboard for veganism, I think that alone would have such a huge reach. And I mean, it is no effort on your part. You buy some magnets for your cars, you buy some t-shirts, and you just live your life as you always have. And if you don't want to do anything more than that, well, you're still doing something. And I mean, if you are someone who's just turned vegan, or you're vegan but you haven't considered activism at all, and you feel alone, know that you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there who want to speak up for animals and they don't know how to, but you're not alone. And all you need to do is have the right support mechanisms and join Facebook groups, join your local vegan group, check out Anonymous for the Voiceless, or go to meetups or dinners and meet other like-minded people, and it can give you the support to have the confidence to do things like that. So I just really want to sum up that starting out with activism is super simple. It's just a consistent message all the time. I changed my Wi-Fi password to Go Vegan. Everyone in my neighborhood sees that. I don't have to talk to any of them. Super easy activism. Think of stuff like that. So that's the only thing I wanted to sum up, how easy it is to start doing a bit of activism.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. It's so perfect and so simple. So if people want to follow you, find you, ask you more questions, anything, where can people find you? How do people reach out to you? What are the ways that they could do that?
So there's a couple James Purcells on Facebook and YouTube. So on YouTube, you can find me, do a search on James Purcell Snorkel, because I do scuba diving videos as well as activism. And then on Facebook, probably the same thing. Or you can check my email, james.purcell@live.com. Purcell is 2 L's, Purcell. And on Instagram, the Tofu Ninja. Yeah, easy to remember. And there's underscores between each word. So the_tofu_ninja.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. So, that's great. I appreciate that. For anyone that's maybe listening, where you can find this episode, how you can listen to this episode. I guess I imagine if you're already listening to this episode, but you found it somewhere, but the Vegan Luna, right? Vegan Luna for sure. And that'll be on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor are some of the major ones. And so also, you could watch this also on YouTube, Vegan Luna. So you can check this out on YouTube. It'll be up, at some point. I cannot promise a date, but it'll definitely be up, in a couple weeks, hopefully. And then, so, I really appreciate it. I had a great time. I think that people are going to learn a lot from this. This is honestly, a unique conversation that I haven't had with anyone quite like this in depth about exactly how to be tactful, like steps to online activism. We talk about, the power of social media and how it could be impactful, but actually steps, tangible steps that you could take action directly after this conversation, I think is very key. So please, anyone that's listening, at least try some of these steps. Reach out to James because he's doing amazing things and making a difference. So I definitely appreciate it.
Thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, no, I mean it. Like I'm seriously not joking when I say this. I really appreciate it. And I think there'll be a lot of great videos in the future coming from this one.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, take care, buddy. And I'll see you on Facebook.